Okay, I think we are. I think we're live. Robert, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, dude. So I wanted to have a discussion tonight about sponsored videos or just gear videos, gear content in general on YouTube
Sure.
and Instagram and now TikTok. Because you and I have been in this game for a little while now. I think we
Yeah,
started around the same time, right?
yeah, we did.
Yeah, 5.5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I've been doing it forever at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
it feels like forever
like
for me
10
too.
years.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been doing this for a little while, and I had an interesting thing last week. So, Fender released the Tone Master Pro, and as
Yeah.
Fender has been doing in the last few years, like they send out seemingly hundreds of new units or guitars or whatever to all of the influencers out there in different niches and everything.
Yeah.
And then there's an embargo, and then everyone drops their videos on the same day about the new thing. And I have some thoughts about that we can get into later. But basically, last week I did a live stream here talking about the Tone Master Pro, and it was kind of just like a first look sort of thing. I had just gotten home from vacation. I just pulled it out of the box, and I thought, let's just go live and play around with it and see how it does. And I
Right.
was less than impressed.
I see.
It's
I haven't tried it yet. They did. They asked me about being part of the launch, but it was like above my pay grade. I feel like there's probably a lot to learn.
uh, I don't think so. I mean, you know what you're doing with sounds and tone and gear and modelers and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty easy to use. That's one of the nice things about it. But sonically, I think they really came up short with it compared to all the other stuff that's out there. And
Mm.
basically, I shared that in the live stream, my thoughts on it. I was brutally honest. Even though
Yeah.
technically it was a form of sponsored content because they gave it to me for free to keep, as well as the cab, which to be fair, I haven't tried the cab out yet, but I
Mhm.
will. So the response on that live stream was really interesting. It was sort of three things. One, people really enjoyed it, and they kind of enjoyed sort of an honest take of me saying, "Hey, I don't really think this thing is all there. There's some
Right.
good stuff about it, but it doesn't really sound great." Then there were people that were mad, which is really funny to me that they were mad that I didn't like it,
You didn't
uh,
like it?
which is interesting. And then there were people that were like, "This was only a few comments I saw, but it was like, oh well, this is just a paid advertisement, and he's like engineering this, thing to try and get clicks. It's a shill, all this kind of stuff." And so I don't know,
Even though you didn't like it.
which that's a weird thing, right? Like
Yeah.
a weird strategy for promotion is to come out and say, "I don't think you should buy this thing."
It works every time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's the classic double negative. Um, oh, Rick's here in the chat. What's up, Rick? So, oh, quick plugs. If everyone joining us, welcome, Robert Baker. His channel and everything is in the chat, or in the
Oh,
chat and in the description. So go follow Robert if you don't already. And then also, quick plug: we are doing 50% off of the Fretboard Fundamentals course, going on now. Do you have anything to plug?
I don't think so.
I forgot to ask
Lazy
you.
long-haired guy. Plug, plug that. 80s
So,
course. 80s course is coming.
okay, 80s course is coming. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get some links for that. So as someone who's been in this game for a long time, what do you think about like where we're at in terms of gear content now?
I think it's definitely like crazy flooded on YouTube. Just such an abundance of gear videos all over the place. I think there's so much of it now that it all gets kind of like labeled as sponsored, chili, like all that kind of stuff, even when a lot of it's not. You
Yeah.
know, I know we both have lots of videos we make about gear, about just stuff that we buy and think it's cool, and you always get this pushback from people who are like, "Oh, that they gave you that." I'm like, "Oh man, I paid full price for this. I didn't even get a discount on it." Like, it, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how it's all like evolved over the years.
Yeah, yeah. So for you, I imagine you're similar to me, which is that like companies reach out to you all the time to try and
Mhm.
get stuff on your channel. And I end up saying no most of the time because I'm generally not going to feature something that I don't actually like and don't actually think is good. My sort of rule of thumb is that if I wouldn't actually recommend this to a friend of mine who was asking about it, I'm not going to talk about it on my channel, whether or not I bought it
Right.
or it was given to me or anything like that. I mean, is that kind of the same for you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm sure, and you probably get reached out by even more companies than me, but it's probably like a 1 to 20 ratio, like of reaching out, like, and some companies, we've become friends with like that, and like they know what we like and what we won't like and stuff like that. So a lot of times, uh, I do a lot like with Fender or
Yeah.
something like that. But and they just reach out whenever it's something they think that I would actually like. Like they
Yeah.
ask about what's the new thing called, the Tone Master?
Yeah. The Tone Master Pro.
Yeah, which, like I said, they asked me about that, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like so happy with what I already have. I'm like, I can't see me wanting to venture into something new in that realm right now. So,
Yeah. I think it's the same for me, especially with the bigger companies like Fender, where they make a lot of different stuff. It's kind of interesting because with a company like Fender, they're releasing stuff constantly. I mean, I don't know how many releases they've had this year, but just in the last couple of weeks, they did the Ventera 2 series.
mhm.
They've done the Tone Master Pro. They've done some pedals or something earlier this year, and then they just came out with that Acoustasonic thing, which, you know, for me, I love the Ventera 2. I just made a video about the Bass 6, which is genuinely one of my favorite
Oh
things that
yeah.
I've gotten my hands on this year. I love that thing.
Mhm.
Phil's borrowing it and using it on a gig right now, actually. But and then on the flip side, the Acoustasonic thing came out, and I was not on the short list of people for that guitar because I genuinely don't understand why the Acoustasonic series exists.
Light
I think
exists.
I think they're terrible guitars, and especially the acoustic one. It's
Mhm.
it's weird to me because it's kind of like I don't understand what problem it's solving. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same size as a normal acoustic, but I don't know. I'm not trying to shit on Fender here. My point is that
Oh
like
no.
with a company as a content creator, there are things that they release that you really like, and there are things that they release that you're just not into at all. And so yeah, I think getting back to the discussion here, and we got some questions here. Yeah, if you wanna ask us some questions in the chat, you can at me at Rhett Shull. It'll highlight your question. Um, so yeah, anyways, the point with the Tone Master thing was I thought it was really cool to check out and
Mhm.
see how it stacked up against the rest of the things, and it just doesn't, at least in its current form, it doesn't hold a candle, in my opinion, to the other things that are out there, like Quad Cortex and Helix and Axe Effects, especially for the price they're asking. And that was it. That's my honest opinion. There's no other thing happening there other than just me saying,
Mhm.
hey, I think you should spend your money elsewhere if you're in the market. And yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, and this is like, as far as I know, Fender's first like jump into that world. I mean, they did modeling stuff, obviously, but to this degree, and I think they'll have growing pains. Just like, I mean, when the Helix stuff first came out, I didn't really care for it, and
yeah,
they've come a long way. I mean, look at early Fractal stuff, So yeah, and I think, and I, and you might be the same way. For me, the stuff that always interests me the most whenever it's a gear company is just if it's interesting. So like you mentioned the Acoustasonic, which I did a video for the Acoustasonic just because I was just like, I'm like in this weird like kick where I just want something that has like a different vibe than
uh-huh.
everything else that I have. And I'm like, it's totally not something I would like normally play. And I'm like, I'll check one out. I don't care, and like,
Yeah.
and it was cool. I gave it away afterwards, to someone, but it's not something like don't want to do any more videos about it.
Yeah.
After that one, I'm like, okay, I kind of got like the vibe of it, and it was different. Didn't feel like an acoustic. Didn't feel like an electric. I'm like, I can see how some people might dig that, but I think long term, that's not something that I'm really chasing.
Yeah, I just don't understand them, man. They're just not my bag. I I just can't. It's like you just took all the good parts of an acoustic and oh Jesus, just dropped my whole keyboard. You took all the good parts of an acoustic guitar and then took them out and just highlighted the worst parts of an acoustic guitar, which is like a plugged up acoustic guitar sound, you know. But the thing I want to, from our perspective as content creators, I think there's this idea with a lot of people out there that watch us that think like, oh well, they're not ever going to be truly honest because they're afraid of making these companies mad. Like if I'm honest about my thoughts on the Fender Acoustasonic, they're not going to like send me anything anymore. And so I'm going to try and temper my response. And I'm sure that might be true for some creators out there. But as far as I go and you go and most of the people that we know, like that's not really the case because the way we have sort of set up the business side of YouTube is that we're not relying on these big companies and sending us gear to make videos about to make our living.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll come into, you probably experience this too, where I'll have friends or someone who don't totally understand what we do will be like, oh, take this amp that I have here and make a video about it or something like that. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't really want to make a video about it. We're not like starved for content to where we like, what are we going to do if they don't send us this guitar? You know, we'll never be able to make another video or something like that. Like that's not really the case.
Yeah. Have you been blacklisted without naming names? Have you been blacklisted by any companies that you know about?
Not that I know of, like hard know about, but there's a couple of them who like have, like they never like reach out to me, even though like I did a lot of stuff with them and had relationships and stuff like that, and it's just like, nope, no more. So yeah, possibly.
I definitely have been, and but it's just part of the thing. Like I'm and I'm gonna be honest, even with companies, like I've talked to my guy at Fender, and everything I've said about the Acoustasonic thing, I have said directly to them, and everything about the Tone Master, I will say directly to them. And there are companies that even pretty recently that have sent out stuff for me to check out because, you know, they reached out and it sounded like a really cool product, something I wanted to check out, and I got my hands on it and I played it and it was bad, like bad. And I just emailed them back and said, hey guys, look, I'm sorry. This isn't where I think it should be, and I'm not going to make a video about it. Like, I can't recommend this, and have sent it back. I'm actually supposed to send it back. I keep forgetting. But the point is, like, the idea that all content creators on YouTube or TikTok or whatever are not going to be completely honest about their thoughts of gear because they're afraid of not being sent gear anymore is not always true.
Well, and I feel like there's been this really big kind of like false narrative created that a brand, have you ever had a brand ever tell you that they want you to say something specific in a video? Or
yes.
Have you?
Yes, and I've told them that doesn't fly.
Yeah, I've never, like, all the brands I've worked with, I've never had a single brand say they want me to say something positive. They have certain key points. They've always just like, here's the product, make your video about it. And usually they encourage you to do whatever you want with it, do your thing with it. And outside of me reaching out to them, because if it's a product that's not out yet, there's like not specs, I'm like, hey, can I get like a spec sheet on whatever this is so I know what the fretboard's made out of?
Yeah.
But I think that's just the picture that's been painted, that we all have this script that we have to be like, this is the greatest, guitar ever, and all this kind of stuff.
Well, and so Emily Hopkins is in the chat, who I'm a huge fan of, and she said, as someone who did sponsored gear demos for a long time and really only decided to feature the stuff I like, turning down a ton of things, the public perception is still very difficult to deal with. And I totally agree, because the reality is we only talk about stuff that we like, as we mentioned earlier. And so from a public perspective, I can see how it feels a little weird if we're always just saying like, oh, this is great. The only content we have out there is talking about how great everything is. But that's because you're not seeing the stuff that we don't like, because why Why would you? Personally, I don't like making negative content really about anything, but when it comes to gear, because, and you know this, like, there are people behind all of this stuff. Even though Fender's a big
Yeah.
corporation and it's a big, corporate America structure, like, there's a handful of people and a relatively small team behind the Tone Master Pro. And they worked on it for a really long time and they worked really, really hard on it. And they're really proud of it. So I don't enjoy coming out and bashing a product that someone has spent months or years of their life working on. I would just rather not feature it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody benefits from that. And I feel like as a musician, but it's probably any form of art. Why would we spend time learning how to use, like, playing something that we like genuinely don't like? Like, wouldn't you rather have a guitar that really inspires you to play some music and make a video about that? Because that's to me, that the excitement of a new piece of gear is, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what like piece of music comes out of this piece of gear.
Yeah.
And if it's not something that I like and no music comes out of it, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, it's not the right fit for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I always go back to that rule of, like, if I wouldn't recommend a friend spending their money on this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not going to talk about it. Bizarre putting in the top chat says, Rhett, Robert, do you think it has become impossible to convince the YouTube audience that any review is impartial at this point? Has the trust gone? I think some people, they think if it's on YouTube, it's automatically a paid. We're all shills. We're all just out here, like, doing everything we can to make money and just pushing products that we don't believe in. But that's not true. And I don't know that there's necessarily any way to reach those people. I think they've probably just got their mind made up. But I think most people understand where we're coming from with this stuff.
Yeah. And I think that the real supporters and viewers that we have and stuff like that all will trust what we say. Like I said, if the people have it in their mind before they ever watch the video that it's paid and chill and all that kind of stuff, like they said, like, that mind, they're never going to change. Like, they're making up their mind before they even have the facts.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I know, like, for me, I remember when I got my PRS DGT, I bought it from Sweetwater, like, no discount, nothing. And then as soon as I like made a video about it, the comment like, PRS gave you that guitar. I'm like, PRS had nothing to do with this guitar. Sweetwater gave you that guitar. I'm like, well, I bought it from Sweetwater, like, at the normal price that anybody would pay for it.
Yep.
And I'm like, not every piece of gear we get is given to us or discounted or anything. Like, that's why YouTube has that thing, like, paid promotion now.
Yeah. The paid promotion thing, I think it's a good tool. And it's I think there's a few different ways to go about doing sponsored content. Like, for me, I have sort of two categories. Category one is like what happened with the Tone Master, where they send it to me, or they'll reach out and say, hey, we'd love to feature something on your channel. This is like the emails we get all the time. Hey, we have this new pedal coming out. Could we send it to you to make a video demo of? And I'm one of probably 75 or 100 people that are getting emailed about this thing.
Right.
And my sort of canned response to that at this point is, hey, I don't do demos necessarily. I definitely don't do like paid reviews. Like, I don't do like a sponsored video saying how great this thing is or whatever. If you want to send it to me, I will check it out. And if it's something that I like, that I think I can find a way to work into the channel, then I will. But you send me that knowing that it may not ever make it on the channel. And I'd say that has about a 50% success rate. Like, half of the companies say, okay, cool, great, thanks, no worries, we're looking for something a little more solid, and they don't send the piece of gear out. Right. The other half of companies say, okay, cool, yeah, we'll send it to you, check it out, let us know what you think, hope you like it, right? And that's cool, and that's the end of it. And then the other side of it is, the other category is, hey, we want to sponsor a video on your channel to feature this piece of gear. Occasionally I will do that. Like, most recently we did the 2 UA videos where we flew out to Santa Cruz and made some cool videos. And in those videos, I'm not going to make something that says like, hey, this video is sponsored by UA. Now let me tell you how great these pedals are. I'm going to try and make a video that gives people something, some information, some knowledge that they can use whether or not they're interested in buying that piece of gear, you know?
Right.
And that way everybody wins. We did a video last year that was sponsored by Music Nomad where they paid a sponsor rate and they sent me their setup tools and stuff. But then we made a video about how to set up your guitar at home, some DIY guitar setup tips that and these are tips that you can use no matter whether or not you're buying the Music Nomad stuff, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win-win. The person watching the video gets some knowledge and education on a subject that they might be interested in. The video does better because it's reaching a wider audience, which makes the company happier and makes me happier as the creator.
Well, and I think as the viewer, you know, and I can say as a viewer watching your video or something like that, like I enjoy that type of content more. You know, watching it, it's like you're learning about something, but it's also like entertaining in like a different way. Like I still watch, you know, strict demo videos to learn about stuff, but I do enjoy that type of, you know, product video better. I guess is what I'm saying.
And there's nothing wrong with a content creator making a commercial, basically, you know, as long as it's transparent and you know that that's what it is. Like, hey, this video is sponsored by so and so, because the reality is there's going to be a portion of that audience, and I do this all the time. Like if I'm you know, I'm really into bikes, and so I do a ton of research on like what bike to buy. I'm trying to buy a gravel bike, so it's like what gravel bike should I get? And I'm watching all these people in the gravel and cycling niche talk about these bikes, and as long as I know if the bike was given to them or the company is paying for the video, that's fine. I'm still getting the information that I want from that video.
Yeah.
As long as it's transparent.
Yeah. I know for me watching a video, I'm not put off, or if it's as long as it's up front and it's sponsored and I know it, like the sponsorship doesn't bother me at all. If I'm watching, I'm looking into like cents and stuff like that. So I'm watching these videos, which are sponsored. And I think there's nothing wrong with sponsoring videos. Anyone who does YouTube knows how like crazy unreliable YouTube is as like a revenue stream. like it's comically bad sometimes, and it has been here recently. But so I mean, sponsorship and stuff like that is a great way to me, like everyone wins in that situation.
YouTube is look, I love my job. Like we have arguably one of the best jobs in the world, but it is insanely inconsistent. Like if you're relying on YouTube AdSense for your income, like that's a dangerous thing, man. Like
don't do it.
You're putting all your eggs in the basket of the algorithm, and that's not so that's why from like the business perspective, you know, we do things like the video courses, which shameless plug, we're doing 50% off Fretboard Fundamentals, links in the chat in the description. But that's the reason I'm pushing video courses, and I know you are too, is because like that's the core of the business, and that's what allows me to go out and make the content that I want to make, or do things like very slowly build a studio in my basement and, you know, make a living, is things like the video courses. And sure, some of that is dependent on views, like getting views on YouTube, but it's not, it's about as separated as you can be from the algorithm in terms of bringing in income. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I think that it's probably, it gets looked at in like I guess like looked down upon more. I think whenever you're in a field that is like very passion driven, like music, or, you know, if you're a painter or something like that, like I don't know why that side of stuff, it seems like gets a bad rap if there's any kind of like sponsorship involved.
Yeah, there's definitely people out there that like they don't want you. It's like they don't want you to earn a living or something. I don't know if maybe that's not the right way to put it. But they seem overly critical of anyone
Mhm.
who is making an income from making content. Like, but this is our job, like this is my full-time job at this point.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that it's it's work like anything else. Like, it's who was I just talking to? I was just talking about like, oh, about Jack, about the like we're doing courses and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, after a course, I'm so like mentally just like dead
Yeah.
inside, like, and then like I gotta edit this like whole thing, which, and it's not complaining at all because I like doing that stuff, but it's it's like any other job, it's just it's more mentally exhausting than like physically exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vertex is in the chat. What's up, Vertex? Says most viewers don't understand how much it costs to produce a video. Something of Rhett's quality or Robert's quality would minimum be 2K to shoot and edit. It's totally permissible to get paid. And I think that's kind of a sliding scale, but there is cost associated with making videos. Even if it's just you in a room, like you're putting your time into making something, and time is valuable. It's arguably the most valuable thing any of us have. And so, for instance, like the two UA videos that we did a few months ago, like those were sponsored videos. That was sponsored content, but that sponsorship went into basically letting me make the videos that I wanted to make. The two videos that we did are videos that I'm proud of. The Jimmy Page distortion trick with the 211
Which was
76s.
awesome.
Dude, James Santiago, man, he's the genius behind that. That
was the coolest video.
Yeah, James is amazing. And then the history of the reverb, where they actually went out and bought an original EMT 140 plate reverb. Like, those are videos that I wanted to make that I'm not going to make I'm not going to go out and buy a plate. Like,
why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but we were able to do it in partnership with Universal Audio, and it made sense. But I didn't walk away with like a ton of money in my bank account. We basically broke even on that deal.
Right.
It didn't cost me anything to make those videos, and that was able to we were able to do that through a sponsorship with UA. So yeah, it's not always like, oh, these YouTubers are out here, they're just paid shills and they're trying to just make as much money as they can. In fact, that's not the case for any of us, at least not any of the people that we know.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't know anybody who does that.
Yeah. Yeah. Not in this economy, Lauren says.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just thought it was an interesting topic. Just wanted to come on here and talk about it for a little bit. It's something that I shouldn't be shied away from, like the business of how all this stuff works, and how we're able to do this kind of thing for a living, and sponsorships and working with companies is a part of that.
Yeah, well, and I know I take a lot of like pride working with companies and stuff, because it means that the channel has grown to a point where you can have these professional relationships. And I feel like the transparency of it, as long as you like, and I've never even asked anybody this, whenever you are uploading your video and you click the first next button, does it like take you down to the bottom and it asks you if the paid promotion is in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I see some, not naming any names, but I see people do this, and I'm like, that video is sponsored and it does not have paid promotion on it. And like, sponsorship is more than just money. I think that when people say that it says paid promotion, they think that they're just writing us checks left and right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, that could be like, maybe we bought it and they gave us like art, 30% off like artist pricing, or maybe, we get to keep the product or whatever it is. There's lots of different ways that it's sponsored. It's not always just paid money.
Yeah, that's why I always say in my videos, hey, this video is not, the reason I say it's not sponsored, but they gave this to me for free, is because I think the connotation of sponsored, when you hit that includes paid promotion, it insinuates that not only did they give this to me for free, they also cut a check for me to make this video.
Yeah.
Which, giving the gear is a form of payment. Like, there's no arguing that. It is a form of payment. Like, me being able to keep this Tone Master Pro is a form of payment, right? But I go into something like the live stream last week knowing full well that, hey, sharing my honest opinion about this thing may upset Fender, but I'm not worried about that because my business and me being able to make a living is not dependent on whether or not Fender, I'm in the good graces of Fender or Gibson or any of these companies. But
Yeah.
you have to disclose that and be transparent. So it's a matter of saying like, hey, I got this for free, but they don't have any input on this video. They're not going to see this video before it goes live. They don't know that I'm making this video. And that is a thing that I have struggled with companies in the past, where we make a video and their expectation is, hey, well, we want to see a first draft so we can make suggestions. And my thing
Yeah.
is always like, no, I retain 100% control over my content, and I don't relinquish that to anybody. And sometimes that means that the video or the deal just doesn't happen, which is okay.
Yeah. I can only think of 2 situations I've ever, and it has nothing to do with sponsored. They weren't sponsored. I just did it today just out of respect. I just telling you about that Bender video.
Yeah.
I'm working on. Like, I sent it to Joe. I was just like, hey, just look it over, make sure like I didn't like cut something in the wrong way, that I'm essentially putting the wrong information together. Like,
Right.
I want you to look at it, because we did that with the refret video, and I just want to make sure that it's as good as possible, which not sponsored. I paid for to put the Bender in there, everything. Like, nothing was given or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's different, because you're giving the person who, that's a completely different thing. When you're featuring someone on your channel who's not normally on YouTube, someone who's not on the internet, like, you want to be sensitive to the fact that, hey, you're about to put this person on a platform in the internet, which is can be somewhat toxic at times, if we're honest. Like,
Right.
And so you want to make sure that that person is represented in a way that they feel comfortable with, right? But what I'm saying is, sometimes there's an expectation when a creator is making something in partnership with a company where they're sponsoring it and they're paying thousands of dollars for it, that, they want to see the video before it goes up, and they want to have creative control, which I understand, right? If I was in a company's position and I'm writing a check to somebody, I understand wanting to make sure that my expectations are met. But my perspective as a content creator is like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to relinquish any of that creative control or input on the back end. We can talk about something beforehand, and I can share my idea with you and say, hey, here's what I want to do. This is the video. This is what we're going to do. And then once we've decided on that, then from my perspective, we're done.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Have you ever had, because this has happened to me with a few pieces of gear, where I borrowed something and there was never any discussion of keeping, the whole email was, I'm borrowing. And I reached out to Fender to borrow the Frankie EVH guitar. I'm like, I just want to make some EVH content. You guys have so many things right on that. I think it'd be really good for that. And then after I had it for I did 3 or 4 videos with it. I was like, hey, I'm done with the guitar. I got those videos done. Let me know where to send it. And they're just like, you know what, man, we love the videos. Just keep the guitar.
Yeah.
And because then I'm like, well, do I go back to the initial video where I unboxed it? And
that's tough, because then it's like, well, now now it's sponsored. They gave me the guitar, but I didn't know that they were going to do that at the time. That's happened to me, I think, once that comes to mind. So yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing being a content creator who talks about gear and talks about stuff and works with companies and works with brands. My thing is just being as transparent as possible and just telling the audience what's going on. This video was sponsored by so they're paying for this video, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great this product is. I'm going to try and teach something versus, hey, this company gave me this for free. But they don't have any input on this video. These are just my honest thoughts. And then it's up to the viewer to decide what they want to decide. Is my word or your word trustworthy enough in so much as like they gave the thing for free or not? I think most viewers can figure that out for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think so too. And like I said, even like after that, I think as long as you're clear, like, hey, I did not go out and physically purchase this guitar. You know, to me, it's about like maintaining that trust.
Yeah.
You know,
because that's the trust with your audience is the most valuable thing that you have as a content creator. It's more valuable than a check from a sponsor.
Yeah, and we might, you know, in the moment, like you get the troll comments and stuff like that, but a lot of those people are just passing through.
Yeah,
like they're not there for the long haul and all that stuff. And because some people will say, and I feel like as long as you can say something in a respectful way, like in the comment section, you can offer critique and just be like, hey, you know, this video, you know, felt a little off,
right,
or something like that. Like you can say stuff like that. It's whenever it's just like blatant disrespect. I'm like, why? Like if you don't like it, just don't watch it.
That's just, man, that's like, that comes with the territory of being online. People just want to be trolls because they've got nothing better to do, you know. But yeah, I agree with that. Like I've actually gained a lot from some of the constructive criticism I've gotten comments over the years on how things are done, how things are put together. Like there's a difference between being critical of something in your spirit being to try and like make something better, or say, hey, I think you know, missed the mark here. Here's why. That's totally cool. Someone just being a jerk or being a troll, like whatever. That has no validity on anything. You're just trying to be an asshole, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And
quick plug. Check out Robert's channel. Link is in the chat. Link is in the description. If you're not subscribed to Robert Baker, you should be. I feel like most of our audience we share a lot of the same audience, I imagine, already.
I think so, yeah. I see people in your chat right now who I see in my comments and live streams and stuff. So that's always cool.
Also, we're doing 50% off Fretboard Fundamentals, the course. This is only for the live stream, this discount. So click the link in the description or in the off Fretboard Fundamentals. You can also find Robert's guitar courses in the chat, robertbakerguitar.com/courses. And honestly, the courses are what allow us to do this kind of stuff and remain independent. So if you like what we do and you want to support us, check out our courses. So yeah, man. I mean, I feel like that pretty well covers it. You know, that's. You have anything to add?
No, I do have to shout out to Tilly because I got some from Sweetwater and it had like 4 Biddle honeys in there. So I almost sent you
send them straight over, man.
I'm just like, show Tilly this.
When we were there for Gear Fest, they gave her a water bottle. I mean, full to the brim. You saw it. I did the Biddle honeys. My wife Tilly has a problem with Biddle honey. It's like anytime a box shows up from Sweetwater. Not sponsored, but anytime a box and there's the candy in it, she just immediately runs in, grabs the bag, opens it, pulls the bit of honey out, throws the rest of the bag in the box.
The bag down.
Walks out.
Power move.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. We I've enjoyed this. We're gonna do more of these live streams at least once a week. You know, get back on the live stream game. So thanks to Robert. Thanks, man,
thanks for having me, man.
Coming on. If you're watching this later, leave a comment. Tell us what you thought. Go subscribe to Robert's channel. Check out his courses. And don't forget, you can get 50% off of Fretboard Fundamentals. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a few days.